In this video, we're going to take a look at classifying quadrilaterals. Now, before we jump into this, there's this really nice kind of flow chart of quadrilaterals from mathwarehouse.com that's really helpful here. So notice a couple things. First off, there's kind of three branches of quadrilaterals. We've got the trapezoids with one set of parallel sides. We've got the parallelogram family with two sets of parallel sides. And then the kite with no sets of parallel sides. Now, what we want to do is we want to be able to classify all the shapes that something could be. We're going to take a look at an IXL that deals with this. So let's first start off with the kite. The kite is a kite and a quadrilateral. Remember, anything that has four sides, shaped with four sides, is going to be a quadrilateral. So if you got something like a kite, now notice the distinctive features of a kite. It's got two sets of sides congruent at the top, two sets of sides congruent at the bottom. So you've got two sets of congruent sides, but they're next to each other rather than opposite to each other. So that's a key thing to understand with a kite. Now with a trapezoid, trapezoids and isosceles trapezoids, notice what we have going on. We've got one set of parallel sides, and then the isosceles trapezoid has one set of congruent sides. So one set of parallel sides, we would end up here in the trapezoids. Now, let me teach you kind of a trick here. Say they show you this isosceles trapezoid. The isosceles trapezoid is, well, an isosceles trapezoid, but it's also a trapezoid and also quadrilateral. Basically, whatever shape you determine it is, it's that shape plus all of the shapes above it. Not necessarily next to it, but like say you got a rectangle, it would be a rectangle, a parallelogram, and a quadrilateral, but it would not necessarily be a square. So a couple other things. Remember, parallelograms have two sets of parallel sides. Your rhombus is a type of parallelogram that has all equal sides, whereas your rectangle is a type of parallelogram with all equal angles, and then your square has the properties of a rhombus and a rectangle. So it has all the equal sides and all the equal angles. So let's go ahead and take a look at IXL N.2, and let's see how this goes. So let's take a look. Zoom in here a little bit. So which terms describe this shape? Choose all that apply. So what do I see? I see all equal sides, so that would be a rhombus. And then if I think about my shapes, a rhombus is also a parallelogram, right? If I go back here, my rhombus is a parallelogram and a quadrilateral. Now they don't give me a quadrilateral option, but that's okay. So I'm just gonna say those two, and we're gonna move on from there. Okay, so what should I recognize this shape to be? Well, I see parallel sides. Okay, so it should be a parallelogram. But again, if I look at my chart here, parallelogram, it could be these, but we don't know for sure. But all we really know about the parallelogram is it's a parallelogram and also possibly a quadrilateral. So this would be just a parallelogram here. Okay, this one hopefully we recognize as a rectangle, which would also be a parallelogram. Okay, and let's look at this one, the square. Okay, so the square could be a rhombus, a rectangle, or a parallelogram, or a quadrilateral. It's all of those. So when we're going through this, we've got square, parallelogram, rhombus, rectangle. Okay. All right, let's take this up a level here. Okay, so let's identify what this shape is. So remember, the arrows mean parallel. I've got one set of parallel sides, and then one set of congruent sides, and they're not the same set of sides. So that's going to be an isosceles trapezoid. And in our family tree, the isosceles trapezoid is not the same as your parallelograms. It is separate. Okay, it's also not the same as your kite. So we actually just need to choose isosceles trapezoid. All right? Oh, I'm sorry. I made a mistake there, didn't I? I just totally missed that there was a quadrilateral option. I'm sorry about that, guys. I just must have skipped right past it. All right, let's look at this one. This is a good option. Okay, so we see a quadrilateral here. Okay, that means it has all four sides. Okay, notice it doesn't have anything parallel. We don't have anything congruent. I cannot say anything about this shape other than it's just a quadrilateral. All right, we've looked at one like this. All right, so that's going to be a rhombus, a parallelogram, and a quadrilateral. Let's see if we can find one more that's a little, yeah, this is a great one, okay? So let's take a look at what we've got going on here. I've got two sets of congruent sides, another set of congruent sides. That is just going to be a kite. And then let's double check our chart here. It's a kite, and it could also be a quadrilateral, right? So let's make sure we choose the quadrilateral option here, because sometimes we forget. Even I forget sometimes, and then you go down and you got to do some extra work to get back up. All right, so I hope this is helpful. This is Geometry IXL N.2, classifying quadrilaterals 1.